Hello. In my writing process playlist today, I'm going to talk about the sort of organizing process, or the beginning of it. If you haven't seen my other videos on character folio or bricks, you can check those out. They are earlier videos in this playlist. But I am going to refer to the bricks video a bit in this video. But I'm going to start out with saying that when you create a novel, when you write a novel, the beginning is a very fearful time. It's a time with a lot of uncertainty. You're not even sure if you can pull this thing off. It's hard enough to just create a short story. There's fear involved with any kind of creative process. But a novel is a big project that you will devote years of your life to, if not the rest of your life to some degree. Whether you're doing rewrites or new editions or whatever, this is something you're taking on that will become an active part of your life. So there's a lot of fear. And I'm going to start this video with commenting on that fear a little bit with this quote. "The amateur believes he must first overcome his fear, then he can do his work. The professional knows that fear can never be overcome. He knows there's no such thing as a fearless warrior or a dread-free artist." And that's by Steven Pressfield from his book, The War of Art. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. It's very good for if you have procrastination or any kind of anxiety about creating artwork. I thankfully don't have it that often. I always have a little bit of fear, but when I went to college at a craft school, that was like something that was beat into us, was this overcoming of fear, because we had projects due all the time. So that's something that in some ways I would say I've overcome, or I've at least lessened the impact of. However, I do think that there is some trepidation about the beginning parts of any large project, because it's so formless, it's too open, it's chaotic, there are too many possibilities. And I think the scope of what you're trying to do can often make you feel overwhelmed. So in this video, I'm going to discuss one of the most important things to start overcoming this fear. Okay, so we're going to sift through these bricks that I talked about in a previous video and start organizing them. And I'm going to say why organizing helps. It helps you overcome your fear. It also helps you clarify your ideas. It can help you define your story's structure or find key elements in your story. It helps you develop a clear plan. It can also increase your productivity and help with focus. But one thing I should mention about this is I'm only going to do one video on it, probably, but this is a process that you should be continually doing throughout the entire, at least ideation part of your novel, and maybe even your outlining part. It might not come up as much in your writing mode, but in those two first phases, I think it's invaluable, and I think you should be doing it quite regularly. Because you should, even though you have this time you're collecting all these bricks, you should be constantly collecting those things. Because you never know, up until the time you're finished with the book, you don't know what you might find that could drastically alter the trajectory of your story. So you should constantly be acquiring more of these things, gathering more of these things, and from time to time going through and organizing them. One of the things that has to be done, and I actually find this one of the most difficult parts of the process, or at least one of the most challenging, is once you have all your bricks. I mentioned bricks in an earlier video, in video 2 of this series.
once you have all your bricks, you have this pile of stuff. And, as you move on with the novel, this pile is going to get bigger and bigger because as you're doing research, you're going to be finding more stuff, more bricks. And I think it's good at a certain point to start organizing it into tangible, sort of easy to work with chunks. So when I'm getting to the point where I want to go into this process, what I will usually do is I will create a few different files. Down here on the left, you can see I have a dream file. I created a dialogue file, vocabulary terms file. I'm going to create a mystery rights file, and then I also have down here this research file. So I have all these documents with notes, as well as more on the way from the Apple Notes program and also from my phone. But I'll eventually be throwing these in to these notes, and then one by one I'll go through them and I'll start figuring out what belongs where. So what I might do is, this is all about the rights of Eleusis. So I will get rid of this and I'll put it into the mystery rights file, which is pretty self-explanatory. But as I go back, I'll find like this, where it's a vocabulary word that I came across that I kind of like. So then I will throw that into my vocabulary terms document. And I'll go on, and like, for example, have this poppy concoction. Oops, put that back, copy it. And I have a thing up here in the characters spot, which is about this drink. I'm calling it a character because I have a feeling it's going to come into play like that. So I add that to that document, and I go back and I just kind of go through and get this stuff in order by adding it to the appropriate files. And it's kind of tedious and it takes time, but later when I'm actually constructing the plot, it'll be easier to find this stuff instead of just going through all this. It's almost like spew. It's like the detritus of my thinking process, and of course our thoughts are never organized, so a lot of this is from books I've been reading or whatever. But I'll go through and I'll just kind of separate it.
So I take pictures with my phone of my print books. I think it's a good way to remember things that jump off the page at me. Sometimes I'll circle things in the books or in the images of the books. I also take screenshots of ebooks while I'm reading them or while I'm doing internet research. The last book I wrote, I had a printed 30-page document for reference of all of these kind of images. It was good to kind of flip through it once in a while, especially if it was important research. I think it's important to have a digital storage space. In this case, it's my Scrivener program, but it can be Word if that is what you prefer, or something online, or even Google Docs, whatever it takes to save this stuff. You should also save it in several places. I have backups of my Scrivener document, several of them, just in case. But I also think it's good to have a collection of print files and to, flip through them from time to time. It helps you remember ideas or things you were thinking about, a month or two ago. It's very invaluable. So that's all I have about the organizing phase. But like I said earlier, I think this is something that should repeat. and you should do it. I wouldn't say there's any kind of like scheduled time where you should say I should do this once a week or anything, but you'll know when you have a good pile of bricks where you can start building walls again. And I think you should continually do that. You might build new wings to your story. You just don't know where it might lead. So that's about all I have for today. I'm going to speak about the emic and etic rites outline in my next video. I'll explain more about that in that one. The video after that, number 7 in this series, is going to be my noir mystery outline, and I'll explain that more in my next video. And the one following that will be me getting into building the protagonist, which should be pretty interesting, I think. But that's about all I have. If you want to like and subscribe, I would appreciate that. If you want to know more about my writing process, or if you know someone that might benefit from it, you can share it with them. But that's about all I got. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.